There will be a distinctive time, most certainly, in all of your lives that you'll have a pinnacle shift, something of a wake-up call, but not like the obvious, the stunning, the duh, of course, it's been there the whole time wake-up call, not that one. See, the call that you know that you are different. See, it happens a lot on your planet, but most of you discount it quickly, sometimes shamefully, non-deservingly. It's a unique feeling, as all feelings truly are, if you don't tie them to memory. If you experience it for the quality of the now, everything is uniquely different, truly. Well, let's look at this feeling I'm speaking of, this little click, this different awakening, if you will. It's a point that allows you to command something new. Command something new. It's a scary word, isn't it? It means you're in charge. It means you are the one calling the shots. It means all the responsibility lies upon your shoulders. And that's a heavy burden for the fractal, because the fractal spends its time batting away. Blame, responsibility itself, cause, effect. He uses band-aids like, I'm sorry, wasn't my fault, I'll never do it again. These are all tied into command. Making choices is what I'm speaking of, right? See, when you get this new feeling, and then you've all had it, you're just going to realize it this time more so. It's going to be this weird moment. It's not going to be like trumpets, but it's going to be a knowing. It's going to click. It's going to be in a relationship, an interaction with humans, interactions with yourself, interactions with creation. Who knows? But you're going to know it. You're going to hear my voice, and I'm going to go, yep, this is it. See, that's when you've shifted command away from the ego into you, squarely on your hands. You have the helm. You have the controls. See, a controlling idea is a shameful idea from humanity. In some aspects, it's manipulative, controlling, because you're so used to getting controlled by others. The government controls you all the time, more than you can imagine, right? The government is always putting laws, stipulations, and reinforcements and enforcements to validate those controlling factors of you. So control, from a broad stance of living an everyday human, it's a scary thing. Laws, stop signs, yield signs, one way, do not enter. Always controlling you. And see, you are tired of that, and then you get the control, and you don't know how you're going to use it. Because the first thing it says to you is, when I'm in control, I have power. But you only use the power to manipulate others, to create your reality. To what? Unto what? Unto what? Your desires. And sometimes your desires, those little ideas that are quite scary, that you have the actual ability to want something as obtuse as that, are frightening to you. That's why it's easy to demolish this feeling of click. Again, not the epiphany of knowledge, like, oh yeah, of course, that's obvious. Now I see it, not that shit. This is the self-realizing. I'd like you to see that. And when you get this idea in your hands again, you got the controls, then there's a whole new dynamic relationship, isn't there? There's a whole new way to understand your power. And it doesn't need, listen very closely to this, any of your fucking histories to guide it. See, this power, this controlling, this creator, this reality that you are becoming is not predicated on guidance, is what you rely on. It does not need its own rules. And that scares you even more. So what it truly is your creatorship returned. But it's the relationship that you don't understand. You don't. You understand the relationship of control and the relative idea of power to do to another. And that controlling idea can be healing another. It's not polarized. We're not saying bad or good with the control. It's just the idea to have command over your reality as you choose through what you choose deemed to be the best. And that's not the way it works. You can't do anything to anybody. But how do you control then? How is that power? Well, see, there's the conundrum. You're not doing anything to anyone, and you're not doing anything to reality. Because reality doesn't respond to vibrational lack, to command of another. Because the point of view is objective. It responds to subjective controls. It responds to the idea of I'm driving my vessel. And the vessel is creative bubble, holodeck. And the refractions of the light bent are done through validations of truth that need no guidance, that have no justification, and have zero ideas of references from futures or past or selves of another now. It is unique into the now. Existence is here and now. Existence is creating unknown. There lies your power on the edge. The constant known into unknown and unknown into known. The constant shift, the current of now. A very dynamic place to be, a very powerful place to be. A very idea thing. That when it becomes an idea, when it becomes a bright light, when it becomes a chocolate cocoa puff, and you're just, look at that, looks good. Time for some cereal. And you want to devour this idea, but you devour it in a way of human relationship. And this is what diminishes that whole thing into the lack. And people perpetrating, manipulating other people through talks and admirations and dependencies. Your leaders of the world, your religions, your cults, whatever it is. Because you don't know what it is to be a creator. You have a relative reality of being controlled. School has manipulated you. Timelines galore. Works have always controlled your behavior. You have to stifle yourself to fit in the paradigm of human acceptability, or if you go too far, you are rejected. Maybe put away, maybe given a little shock treatment, huh? Maybe a padded cell. All these people that are nuts are not nuts. They're just not listening to your rules. And you treat them because they scare you. Because you have to control. We're talking human here. You have to control that which is uncomfortable. So that's why you can't control this idea of your creatorship, because it's uncontrollable and it's certainly most uncomfortable for you. As you start to realize yourself growing up, growing into your expression of creator, you're going to realize that you can't control shit through the idea of what you deem control to be. The control relationship cannot be objectified. You cannot look at same and say, I want to control that. You have to be the subjective, as if I'm creating it. And that relationship doesn't have manipulation involved. It's kind of like telekinesis. You can telekinesis anything on your world. It's not out of bounds for anybody. But when you're doing it to get an outcome as an object, that's why it doesn't work. But the ones who understand how it works, it becomes a co-creator. It becomes a subject. It's an extension of you. You guys have no problem wiggling your finger, moving your hand, clapping, making little puppets, shadow puppets, bunny, butterfly. Shepherd. Has shepherd. Yeah. Yeah. You can do that, but you don't think this is telekinesis, really? Because it's attached to you, really? All of it is subjectively created from you. There's no difference between the hand connected to your body than the computer that lies in front of you, the light, the desk. There's no difference because it's all your controlling relationship to reality. The way you choose to bend light through truth. The way you create, literally. But it's such a difficult idea because your whole idea about results is through effort. So controlling is effort. It's thinking. It's responsibility. It's relative on outcome. It might deem consequential if actions are, let's say, not cared for. You might be considered reckless. So all of these you're dragging into this moment of click. And you're dealing with a lot of stuff knowing that you have the reins once again. Screaming on Dancer, on Dasher, on Prancer and Vixen. It's you now. But your relationship with that is I don't know what the hell to do. But you put a kid in a car and he doesn't understand rules yet. He'll know how to turn it on and hit the gas. He may wreck the car, but who cares? Because his idea is not caution. His idea is the moment to control, to create an experience. Get it? See, this adult mind you guys created that is absolutely childish tries to create its reality through effort and control. That's why it's so stifling. And you guys have bullshitted yourself saying you're actually manifesting things and creating things. The shit that pops up out of the blue, see, that's when you're not paying attention to trying to control it. That's what you're leaving to the we to give you the vibrational match that you always deserve because you always are all that is. Right? But after a while, down here on Earth, what's next? Well, the constant of now has changed, so we might as well get into what it is to be a creator because that's the next logical step for you guys, isn't it? Or do you want to still fuck around with your belief systems and ask who's, whys, and what's and live your image of separation as a guilty complex or a repetitive stage of I don't deserve or why is creation doing this? All that shit. You want to play that game? I don't think so. It seems that now you want to understand what it's like inside of the driver's seat once again, but you can't bring the shit that gives you the potential of what the driver's seat is supposed to be like based off of human relationships, human references, human truths. This is why we speak so much of relating to reality as a God. You absolutely have to change your approach. You can't drag all of your shit with you. Unless you just love it, you love your ego, always trying to get validated in image, then you're going to be stuck there, always in time, stuck there, because you're always choosing the truth of the image instead of the creator. We can't do anything about that. It's up to you. So maybe you can see you're in control. Good to have a car, Roxy, isn't it? Get a Starbucks early in the morning. All right, so let's get into the driver's seat. The driver's seat is a relationship. The driver's seat is a relationship as a point of view, firstly. Let's stay there for a moment. See, the points of view that you were taught is everything outside of you is its own frequency of objectivity. Now, what does that mean? These objects around you have their own will, their own say, and in a world of polarity, they always object to you. Some confide, some match, but always there's the objectivity, the objection of your truth. So that builds a separation barrier between you and your creative skills, because you guys still think that something innate or not, let's say not alive, not human, not animal, is something of non-conscience. It doesn't have an awareness, which is complete bullshit, right? So everything that you create is alive, and it has its reactions and interactions according to your truth and your relationship with it. Okay? It's not a slave, it's a reflection. What you put out is what you get back. But it's not in the idea of this idea human. It's in the idea of the subjective universe creating. So imagine you're sitting in the chair and there's nothing around you, and you start clicking these buttons, and all of a sudden the ground appears, the grass appears, the horizon appears, the sky appears, the clouds appears, a sun appears, some trees, some flowers, some bees, some woodlawn idea, some field of dreams idea. It doesn't really matter what is starting to picture, but that's your creation. And it's there in the physical, starting to bend down to a frequency of reflection that says it's solid through the dynamic of what you call senses. A certain frequency range that gives the holodeck illusion that you're in a physical reality, right? And it all becomes real to you. But you guys walk around and you think Earth is there permanent because you think that. You're in a co-creation matching the world that you have chosen to be in. You're not going to give yourself blue grass and green skies. Well, the sky was green until you guys discovered lapis, and then you gave yourself a blue sky. Interesting times. Because you never had reference of blue until you saw that. Anyways, this creator here has to understand, firstly, its subjective universe as its creation, but not in a way that says, I want to change it through effort. Not in a way that this is wrong. The remembrance aspect that we're going to and trying to and offering you, whatever you want to look at, is this, that you have to sit in the subjective point of view to have the ties of creation that are already being created by you make themselves known. You have to know these things intimately as your creation without this interruptive mind saying how, when, why, what, why can't we? Let's try this. That whole dynamic is what keeps you flustered in reality. Ones don't have relationship with ego, with image. Create and manifest out of thin air. Move things with their minds. Mainly Tibetan monks in their privacy. Right? But they're not going to do it and show it the world because they're not interested in being an image. As soon as they be an image, the skills are gone. Because they've objectified themselves in acceptance of another to give them something gracious in return for their ability to show them what they can do. But it's not done like that. It has to be done this way. Everything must be understood through the subjective creator that you are to understand your relationship with that, and then there's no appetites to go out and show your skills. The skills may be shown as a creator, but that's only relative to the moment. That's never validated in time, because again, time is a controlled aspect through an ego. The relationship with that is still something of the future and the past, consideration of not having in the now, and the now is lacked, then of course you're not going to get the experience of creatorship as the driver. It's going to be a different dynamic. You have to be humble, sure. Vulnerable, absolutely. But what you do need to do is sit there and start to imagine whatever it is. And whenever the disruptive mind comes in and tries to give you appetites of hurrying things along, trying, let's do this, let's do that. Everything you know, that vibration of ego to be, you accept it and pay no attention to it. And be in the confines of the subjective universe and allow yourself creation. It takes effort if you're trying to be it. It takes no effort coupled with patience and allowance to let it reveal itself. Because you cannot be what you are already not. Because you are now. I speak of these mannerisms of truth, so those are potentials for you. Yes, of course. So it is a truth because all truths are truth in the now. So I am living the truth that you can create through the subjective universe. And the idea of the creator is not done through intention, which is a scary thing, yet happens every now. In your dynamic relationship with an intention or non-intention creator stifles and just mystifies the ego because it doesn't know how to do anything unless it thinks about it first and foremost and then goes after it through its permission slips, its goals, its things of knowing. Build through hammers and nails. That's creators of time. I want you to see how you can manifest a nail in the hand, not through the permissions of going to Home Depot and buying a box of nails and a hammer to hold wood together to create a right angle. Right? So again, everything is about letting go, which is frustrating. Doesn't mean you don't be a go-getter on the planet. When the time comes, you feel like going to, let's say Christmas shop. As Gina says, she got half done. See, that's the passion of the moment, unless you're doing it to avoid something else, and then it becomes a frustrating shopping trip. But if you're doing it as you want to go shopping, that's the moment of passion, then everything that is there is magically created for you. See, that's your unifying idea about allowance. Through the idea of the human gives you the remembrance of things just magically, synchronistically falling into place. And then when you become the subjective of that and say, well, of course it's there. But you're not like shocked. It's like Giselle the other day posted a ring on Facebook and she's like, wow, amazing. How is that amazing that she found a ring that perfectly fit her at a particular idea and she fell in love with it? That's not amazing. That is allowance. Your vibrational match is always giving you things more than you are. But as long as you're trying to control them, then you only get the vibrational match of the controlling relationship to your worth in the now. That's why you got to keep let go. Again, it doesn't mean you're going to sit around and do nothing. You got to be the passion of the moment. But when you are that passion, start to look at the relationship of this created universe as subjective. But these items are not your subjects for you to call upon as slaves. They're your points of view, your relations with your relationship, subjectivity between you and your relationship of these objects that you have created in your reality as a relationship of harmony, of truth, of unconditional, which is the occurrence of all nows. That's why if you leave shit alone enough, your reality shows you there is nothing ever going to be wrong. You're never going to have a bad time. You're never going to have a good time. You're going to have a perfect time. Because that's what always occurs. Polarity deems things differently. So this human mind that you have, this aspect of you that commands fear as a controlling aspect for you to avoid certain realities of wants, excitements, passions, because you might be the idea of disappointed, failed, the expectations, the consequences. All that shit has to be let go when you're sitting in the driver's seat of you. As well as that idea of I can control my reality because I'm a god and lightning bolts shoot out of your fingers. Not that image. Everything that you have as an image must be released and you have to be the synchronistic now. Allowance will get you there. Patience will get you there. And you start to have a relationship with the lamp, with the glass top table, with the pencils. Things of these natures start to become symbiotic with you and you can feel them. You know that they're there for you. And you are most certainly one little dynamic portion of their subjective universe attracted to them. And they are experiencing and knowing themselves through the presence of you. So you don't owe them shit and they don't owe you shit. It's already perfect and there's nothing beyond perfection. Stop. Stop trying to make everything beyond what you already are when it is, and you've just never seen it because you're always looking for the confines of human comparisons that would manipulate your feelings to give you a better time. These things are relevant. The truth of you is to be the subjective universe of the now. And sit down and see how the world's created. But sit down and hear. Doesn't mean you don't get up and grab your purse and keys and get in the car and go. You start to feel the world as it's coming through you. As you know it is your truth without question. Complete vulnerability and acceptability of all that is in your nature. And this natural, let it become and sing new songs to you as you do to them without your stifling, choking, completely fucking arrogant versions of yourself that you display because you're afraid to know that you're simply a God. You're afraid to know your connection. You're afraid to let go of the comfort of the beckoning image seeking its acceptability through friends. Why do you think we tell you to fall in love with you? Because when you're whole, what the hell do you need? Nothing. Because you're whole. That's what the all and one are. They're not divisioned. They're not lacking. They don't need. They don't want. They don't desire. They are creators as well as you. But the fractal, that it's an incarnation of separation, knows not that it is the creator of the incarnation. It knows not that and fears it because it's been taught to control its reality to avoid the things that are beyond its known self. And whenever there is an unknowable present, you will make sure it is safe and secure. And if it's not, you will do everything to extinguish it. It's a little chilly here today. A little bit cooler. Okay, I'm going to grab a water. It's a nice skating rink. They have sock races in this apartment. Remember sock races? Did you guys ever had them? You run and you slide and you try to go the other way. Slip and fall and bang your head. Isn't that fun? You cry and then everyone goes, oh. Oh. Oh yeah, that's good. Okay, now let's go ahead and talk about the human side for a few minutes. Oh. So if I can have the ability to say the human side, and who is the person that realizes the human side of you? You, okay? So you know you have a human side. Now within humanity, you've guys divisioned yourself into different personalities of you. I'm this, I'm that. You don't want to get to know the dark side of me. I have a gifted side in my family. I am this, I am that. See, those are the I ams imaged that keep you separated. And that dynamic is a world that you can see from this side, which is the creatorship, right? So you can see your human side that fears, that covets, right? And when you are in your daily motion, you have a human presence always because you are living a dream within a co-created, let's say, human psyche drama, right? You are a co-created idea. But the relationship with that starts to realize itself as a relationship to human, not as human, right? But you still have the lingerings, the echoes, the clanging cymbals in the background that are annoying of the human side of you. And the dynamic that has been taught is to relative yourself as an observer of that side and be the acceptance of it, purveyor of it, lover, embracer, but never the engager as the human, right? And if you do it and you don't know you did it, then that's a quality of what? Finding an unknown core belief that you've never seen before. Finding that relationship of, man, I'm acting like a fucking stuck pig. I'm nuts about this belief. It's giving me everything. It makes me angry. It makes me rageful. It makes me afraid. That is a human side. And now you can see it. And if you recognize it, you do the same thing. You accept it. You embrace it. You allow it, but you do not engage in it. Now, engaging in it is an idea because it's an idea of fear, right? That you must engage in it. And fear is even prevention. Fear is not just avoidance. Fear is prevention. It's defense. It's taking actions to keep those things away from you, right? You want to talk about tolerance? Yeah. Let me give you an example of something else that leads along those lines. See, when you have something of a controlling factor, right? That's the controlling or the prevention is to prevent a possibility of the fear in the future. Okay? If there's something in the now that is intolerable to you and you don't want to have an experience, well, you can control that reality by leaving. That's called tolerance. Once something in your reality, because you have a whole bunch of lost gods down here trying to suck you dry off of your fucking dependencies, they need your energy. They're not vampire bats to drain you, because you can't be drained. You're fucking invincible. You're goddamn forever. Just know that, okay? So you can't be there for them as an aspect of what? Teaching them, showing them, you don't need to be there and let them suck you, your energy, because you're learning something karmatically. See, all that's human. When something becomes intolerable, leave. Cut them off. Shut the door. Say goodbye. Because that's a dynamic of worthiness. You got to see that truth. You got to really understand that, because you guys get tripped up about that shit. You're a light bearer now. You're not working. You can call yourself a light worker. I don't give a shit. Light bearer means you are screaming authenticity, which is everyone's goddamn drug. But you guys find you're authentic through image, acceptance, envy, admiration, badges of honor, accomplishments, goals, diplomas, attaboys, failures, successes, being dicks and assholes and cunts to people so you can get fear into your life, so you can work yourself back up to successful and apologize. You can be a human cycle all your fucking life. Great. But now I want you to see that you don't have to be. And see, this dynamic relationship to a human has aspects. And those aspects are cyclic and they're very easily attached to, but when you see them and you no longer engage in them, then the relationship with your now, if you are present, you will see that that habit, that self, that core that was, is no longer valid for you to engage in. Don't get mixed up just because you cut some asshole off, because they're just trying to do everything they can to just get you to pay attention to them. That's what they need. They need you to say, you exist. Right? You can walk away. So again, what does the habited mind of human do? It starts to place, as Brett always tries to do, starts to place processes, standards in place. And when something was 2 weeks ago and now it's not that, and then confusion steps in because you held that as valuable. Don't hold anything as valuable. Because everything is here and now. All truths are truth. Now, 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 now. Right? And that's the dynamic of a creator. You got to be the truth in the moment. But you also have to relative reality to the relationship of that truth. Is it a dynamic of something to engage in lack and separation to be the human, or I'm just going to observe the human and no longer engage as the human separation? You got to be masters about this. And now, to tie it all together, you need to be sitting in the subjective creator, the helm of the ship, the bridge, and the captain's chair. Calling the shots of love, unconditional allowance, bringing your truth out, connecting to the truth that you see in front of you as a vibrational match, becoming the idea of that in complete harmony, without effort, without thought, without human. So you may relate to humanity as a divinicus, as a God creating, as a remembered. When you have money troubles, when you have boyfriend troubles, you have things that are afraid because you're breaking down a standard, those things deplete. But it doesn't mean you're not going to have abundance. It doesn't mean you're not going to find love within. What it means is you're not going to relate to those things with the same mannerisms. Okay? So don't engage in the possibilities of creating those as solid. Keep allowing, keep trusting, keeping being vulnerable. And whatever the perfect now is, which is always, it will present to you that what you need. And you'll notice in the now, you never need anything because everything is always there. In the now, not in time. So sit back and start to take control, command of your spaceship again. Your vessel of creation, not just the human body, but your holodeck. Remember that old thing they've said in the class years ago? You're the actor, you're the director, you're the writer, and you're rewriting the script as it goes. The script is constantly changing. Pumpernickel talked about the stories, the self-reflected, the self you're telling you a story, and if you believe it, you become the story of that. Embrace the story that you are in the present. And as you understand your relationship with that, you'll start to see the dynamic of the human embracement, and you can start to have a relative relationship that you do not need to engage in that once truth that you embrace so dearly to covet as an image. And those things shall leave you. They shall. Because you're not paying attention to them. Anyways, I think that's all I've got. For today, it's dynamic, it's packed full. Get out there into the world and engage. As a creator, as an allowance. Listen, observe, watch what happens. See how things play out. You want to jump on board and be an ego, then jump on board and be an ego. And if you know you're being an ego, then you know you are being that self again. And if you don't know you're being an ego, but then recognize it later, well, then again, you've discovered. There's nothing wrong with either of them. They're all choice on how to control your reality anyway. Right? Everything is about that. The dynamic truth is now relative to you, that you can sit in the subjective point of view of creation and start to feel once again your connectivity as the one and the all, sequential and simultaneously. Big do a good day. I'll bring back Miss Roxanne.